The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Portland, Oregon, on your new Pierce Volterra fire apparatus, job number 36682. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 downward-facing tow hooks. Moving to the outer edges, you'll find fog lights. Moving up onto the face of the front bumper on the passenger side is where you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. Just inside that location, on the passenger and driver side, you'll find dual air horns. Also protruding through the front bumper, you'll find 2 tow hooks. Directly in the center is your mechanical siren. And moving up onto the top section of the bumper is where you'll find your fire bell. Moving on to the cab face, at the lower portion is where you'll find your turn indicator. Just up from that location is your headlight structure housing low and high beam headlights. High beam is located on the inside. Directly above the headlight structure is your emergency warning lights forward facing. And as we move to the outer edge, you'll find a marker turn indicator identification light. Moving above the emergency warning lights is where you'll find a grab handle for gaining access to the windshield area. There are 3 windshield wipers across the seamless one-piece windshield. And as we move to the outer edge on the A pillar is where you'll find your mirror housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving toward the inside area of the windshield is where you'll find your HOS system. This is your collision avoidance system. And as we move to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find the 5 identification clearance lights. Moving up onto the brow section is where you'll find your forward-facing floodlights. Located over the driver's area is where you'll find your Opticom. And then moving up onto the cab roof is where you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a different view of the front bumper from the side. And then also we'll move around now to the driver's side, side-facing emergency warning light. Let's go ahead and start now with the cab section. We'll start first with that emergency warning light in the lower section. Also, as we move up, you'll find the identification marker clearance light. And then to the stepwell area is where you'll find the air inlet control valve. As we move to the very rear section of the battery module is where you'll find the auto eject, which is in blue color. As we move up from the door is where you'll find your side-facing camera. As we move to the very rear section of the cab wall is where you'll find an emergency warning light. Moving now to the door handles, these are easily accessible with a gloved hand and they are also keyed. Right next to those is the grab handle for gaining access in and out of the cab. Let's move upward to the very top section of the cab where you'll find side-facing scene lights. And then also emergency warning lights directly over the front axle. As we move to the very rear on the cab wall is where you'll find a side-facing scene light. Let's go ahead and move now to the pump section. We'll start back with this section in just a few moments. We'll pass this and go to the body section, where you'll find at the lower portion of the body in the pump panel area, this is your drain location for your relief valve. Also, just in front of the axle is where you'll find your marker indicator. Just above the axle is a emergency warning light side facing. And then at the very rear section, you'll find a clearance arm. Moving up to the very top, side facing scene light on the body. And then to the very rear section, a 360 emergency warning light. Let's move around to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items within this area, starting at the top with the brake, turn, reverse, and emergency warning light in the lower section. There are 2 cupped switch located here. We'll go over those in just a moment. Just moving up from that location, we have a shoreline outlet. And then just above that in yellow, this is your shoreline for your vehicle. Just inside that location, you'll find a water tank level indicator. And then above that, you'll find right and left side rear-facing scene lights. Back up to the very top section is where you'll find your emergency warning light. And at the very top section, you'll find an additional scene light. There are 4 fold-down steps in the lower portion to gain the hose bed area. Just above that location on the driver's side is where you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. Located in the very center above the engine 1 location is your backup camera. And then as you move to the very top section, you'll find your traffic advisor on the very front section of your hose bed wall. Let's move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle, full view of the apparatus, and we'll start within the body section. Slightly different, but most of the areas are the same. As we look on this side, you'll find the exhaust located on this side in front of the rear axle. As we move to the pump panel, we'll come back to this section in just a moment. Let's go ahead and move to the forward section of the cab area. Same configuration and layout. We're now into the driver's space. Let's start first with the door panel. Affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information. You'll also find the combination door latch and lock, and then manual window controls and a grab handle. Let's move down to the step well, where you'll find the air inlet, outlet, and control module. Moving now just inside the cab on the vertical side here is where you'll find your Volterra information. We'll go over that in just a moment, and then also an additional placard regarding the vehicle information. First, let's start back with the air inlet, outlet, and also air shutoff valve. As we move back in, you'll find at the very top section the Volterra electrical vehicle drivetrain information. This is for your emergency disconnects. There are 3 of them located on the battery area. As we move down to the Pierce manufactured for Portland Fire, has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, and cold tire inflation. It also houses the VIN number, fluid capacities for each component, fluid capacity, and also fluid type. As we move to the floor, you'll find the mechanical siren foot pedal. At about the left knee of the operator is where you'll find the master battery switch. It's a 1/4 turn. You'll also find the tech module, and also engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic port. These are 2 ports for your maintenance team. As we move down, you'll find the 12-volt Alive active button. You'll also find ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit. On the very far right, you'll also find the display port. Let's move to the dash area next, where you'll find at the very top section the water pump PTO and OK to pump. Moving to the opposite side, you'll find the flat mirror and convex mirror control. Into the dash cluster is where you'll find the left-hand side, the ignition and start switch. Just inside that location, you'll find the EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master, engage and disengage all emergency lights, headlight, and panel switch. To the right, OK to engage the high idle indicator and switch. As we move up, you'll find the transmission, oil, def level, and water temp gauges on the left side of the column. On the right side, you'll find front air, rear air, fuel, and volts. Located in the very center, your tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information regarding your vehicle will display above and below the speedometer and tachometer. Let's move just to the right of the steering cluster. General view. We'll start first at the very top section. This is the Pierce Command Zone. Tremendous amount of information right here on the display screen. It is a touch screen and also function buttons in the lower section. You also have a windshield wiper, on and off, and push for fluid. As we move downward, you'll find the event trigger for your camera system, driver brake on and off, driver brake high and low, fog lights, and mirror heat. To the right, we're going to find your mirror controls for the lower section and the very bottom for right and left mirror, convex and flat. Moving up, you'll find the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Moving to the right, you'll find your push button transmission. And then moving further to the right, climate control, heat, air conditioning, and defrost. Moving toward the dash area, you'll find an additional storage location. Moving now overhead, just a general view of this area. We'll start first on the very far left-hand side with the yellow placard, indicating the height of the vehicle, 9 feet 7 inches. Length of the vehicle, 32 feet 8 inches. Gross vehicle weight rating, 42,000 pounds. This also has your 5-digit job number. Emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning switches. Moving to the right, load manager, high beam flash, bell, perimeter lights, siren brake, and air horn. When any of these switches have been activated or on, the light in the switch will illuminate, indicating that the switch has been actively turned on. Moving just to the right, we'll find the driver alley lights, driver scene lights, front scene, rear scene, officer scene, and officer alley. Let's move further to the right, where you'll find your traffic advisor. And then as we look to the undersection at the ceiling area, you'll find in the very front section, this is your Haas traffic advisory system. Also, you'll find seatbelt information, red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted, green they are in the seat and belted. Do not move your apparatus when light is on, indicating you have a compartment or door open. Let's move now from this location to the front axle, where you'll find Goodyear tire Alcoa wheel and a visual sight gauge indicator in the front axle. As we move now to the rear section of the cab area, we'll identify a few items within the cab area. First, starting with the door panel. Affixed with the door panel are safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, manual window controls, and a grab handle. Overhead, push on and off white and red lens lights. As we move now, you have 2 rear-facing SCBA seats, fold-down seats. In the very center section, you'll find a access door for your daily checks for oil and transmission. As we move to the rear cab wall, you'll find 2 exterior seats on the outer side and also a cabinet located in the inside. That cabinet does have adjustable shelving and LED lighting. On the outside of each of those cabinets, you'll find 12-volt access. Moving now overhead, you'll find a light and also headset hangers. Moving to the rear cab, you'll find an additional compartment. This is exterior with a pan door. As we move once again, this is the battery section for your Volterra. This is the firefighter disconnect location and also the auto charge plug-in location with an indicator here for charge status. As we move inside the door area, I would like to point out a few items within this area. First, on the rear section of the door, an electrocution hazard. Vehicle has high voltage batteries. Orange cables carry high charge. Service is only by trained technicians. As we move to the right, you'll find this is on the back section of the battery wall. High voltage components. Do not drill or access this panel. As we move to the pump panel area, we'll start at the very top section with backboard storage in the front section of your crosslays. Then there are 3 crosslays located in the upper portion. As we move to the pump panel area, let's start at the very top section with a warning placard indicating fall. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. We'll also find the pump intake master gauge and pump discharge master gauge. The vacuum and test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. These are currently plugged and utilized for testing purposes. Also, the foam level indicator for foam tank B. As we move down, you'll find the crosslay for the rear 1 3/4. You'll also find front, rear, and 2.5 inch crosslays clustered together. As we move to the right, you'll find your real discharge. Just as a reminder, in is open and out is closed. As we move to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge. As we move further to the right, you'll find your engine cooler and recirculating line. Just down from that location is your pump boss. This is your pressure throttle governor. To the right, you'll find a black audible speaker. The outer edge of that bezel does rotate to allow you to dampen or brighten the sound. You have an indicator here indicating OK to pump, that your pump is properly engaged, and also a panel light switch. We do have a placard regarding the minimum operation maintenance schedule, which we'll go over in just a moment. and then also an additional Pierce command zone. As we move down, you'll find the number 4 officer and driver rear discharge. And then to the right, the fire pump primer push to prime air prime for best practices at least 1,000 RPMs. Tank fill located on the very far right side. As we move downward and slightly to the left, you'll find the number 5, number 2, and number 1 2.5-inch discharges. You'll also find your large diameter officer side discharge. Moving just to the right, you'll find the number 3 driver side discharge. And then also a warning here that caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening those. To the right, you'll find a water level tank indicator. And then further to the right, the tank to pump. In is open, out is closed. The Pierce logo, American flag eagle, large diameter pump inlet. As we move to the right behind the pan door is where you'll find your relief valve located inside and set screw for adjustment. Color-coded and labeled discharge drains on the lower section of the pump panel. And then as we move to the right, a warning placard indicating that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and that's only after proper training. This is also the location for the driver's side auxiliary inlet 2.5-inch locally controlled ball valve. This is the minimum operation maintenance schedule placard. We'll go over that in just a moment. Also the Watrous placard, which we'll go over in just a moment. To the right, we have the pump drain. And then as we move further down, you'll find a warning placard indicating not to mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure, and then also a foam concentrate outlet. Let's move back to the Watrous placard indicating that you have a 1,500 GPM pump. As we move to the minimum operation maintenance schedule, they're clustered into the test pressures at 150, 200, and 250 PSI. Each of those have the GPM and RPM associated with that while in pump. Just as a reminder, the govern speed while at pump mode is 2,600 RPMs. As we move to the very bottom, you'll find an additional turn indicator at the rear section of the cab, and then also a tubbed storage location that is free floating. General view into the next compartment to the rear. Let's start first at the very top section. This is your S1, which stands for shoreline power. This is the breaker panel for the shoreline. As we move to the left, this is a timer for your ventilation system. When plugged into shoreline power, this will also be active. As we move down to the very bottom, we do have additional batteries located here. They're under the diamond plate cover, and we've removed that cover for access so that you can see what's inside this compartment area. The next image will show that. Let's move to the next compartment just over the rear axle, where you'll find SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps. You'll also find a single SCBA bottle with a retaining strap, and then also your DEF and also diesel fill location. We'll go over that in just a moment also. As we move up into the compartment, you'll find a tool board accesses via the D handle. When that is open, it will lock into position. There is a lock mechanism on the hinge side on the rear portion of that tool board. Retaining straps here on the SCBA bottle storage location for safety. As we move to the rear axle, we have Goodyear tire and Alcoa wheel. Moving now just to the upper portion, single SCBA bottle storage location with retaining strap. As we move now to the fill location, 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. Currently, we are seeing the silver cap, which is the ultra low sulfur diesel. When the flap is moved to the downward position, it exposes the blue cap, which once again is a DEF fill location, 4.5 gallons. As we move to the rear, you'll find adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and ventilation throughout the vehicle. General view here with all compartments open. Let's move from this location to the rear of the apparatus where we have the lower portion open. Let's start first on the left-hand side. This is your auto eject for the shoreline inlet. It is a 30 amp auto eject plug. Right next to that is your water tank level indicator. We also have a shoreline outlet. When plugged into shoreline, this becomes active. Also just to the right, you'll find your warning buzzer. Let's move just to the right of this location where you'll find the rear scene lights, and then also deck lights. Just a warning here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Also in the very forward section of the hose bed is where you'll find your traffic advisor. As we move to the very rear compartment, we're displaying here the information regarding your ventilation system, and then some warning placards indicating warning entanglement hazard. Because of the lines coming from aloft, there's a possibility of entanglement. Also, fall hazard, never ride on the vehicle while it's in motion, and fall, always face the vehicle while climbing on or off the vehicle. Let's move around now to the passenger side rear compartment, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and ventilation. As we move forward to that location, this is going to be an SCBA bottle storage location, retaining strap. Right next to that is where you'll find the hydraulic reservoir for your ladder equipment rack. You'll also find additional fuel location. This is on the passenger side, ultra low sulfur diesel. Close up here of the equipment rack area. Let's move down to the rear where you'll find Goodyear tires and once again Alcoa wheel. We'll move forward to this location. SCBA bottle storage for up to 3 bottles. In addition, you'll find your exhaust. Extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures do exist in this area, especially during regen operations. Be mindful where you park your vehicle. As we move forward to that location, once again, adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and ventilation system. As we move to the pump panel area, we'll start first at the very top section in the forward area. Once again, backboard storage location, same configuration as you have on the driver's side. Just as a reminder, high voltage compartments are located behind these panels. Do not drill, grind, or cut weld in these areas. As we move now to the pump panel, additional warning regarding entanglement hazard. Because those lines coming aloft in the cross lay, there's the possibility of entanglement. Also, we have a 2.5-inch cross lay and front cross lay 1 3/4, and then also a 2.5-inch discharge. You will find a warning here regarding fall hazard. When climbing onto the vehicle, always face the vehicle. As we move to the left, you'll also find your cab lift module. We'll go over that in just a moment. First, let's start with the next images where you'll find the audible alarm. Once again, the outer edge of that bezel does rotate, allowing you to brighten or dampen. Your powered equipment rack, we have instructions to raise and lower, and also some danger placard information. Also, cab lift, there are instructions to raise and to lower, some caution and danger placard information. And then also a warning, once again, with pressure hazard, caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move to the left, you'll find a warning regarding foam failure. Do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam. All of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains, and then also the foam concentrate outlet. To the right, we do have an additional pan door for gaining access behind the pump panel. Let's go ahead and take a look inside the pan door. It's where you'll find the foam drain. As we move to the forward, officer side auxiliary inlet, 2.5-inch locally controlled ball valve, and then all of our drains. Let's move toward the cab section. This is the rear portion of the battery area. Once again, this is the firefighter disconnect location. There are instructions for its operation on the face of the door. As we move to the rear cab, we have an additional pan door for storage. Moving now into the cab area itself, in the rear portion, affixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch. As we move inside, you'll find push on and off red or red lens lights. There are 2 forward-facing flip-down seats on the outer edge, and then also an additional compartment inside. Once again, 2 rear-facing SCBA seats located in the rear between the driver and officer position. Visual sight gauge indicator in the front axle, Alcoa wheel, and Goodyear tire. As we move into the officer space, just as a reminder, fixed to the door panel, safety and warning placard information, door lock and latch, grab handle, and manual window controls. As we move into the cab area, you'll find your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag. Be cautious when mounting anything in this area. Also to the right on the A-pillar is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. And at the floor level, you'll find the mechanical siren foot pedal. As we move up to the area, you'll find a warning regarding occupancy crash protection. This is a warning here regarding its system. And then also to the lower portion where the mechanical siren foot pedal is located. As we move back up to the dash, you'll find an alarm silence button and then also a siren brake for your mechanical siren. 12-volt access and also your fire bell push button. As we move overhead, just a general view, let's go ahead and move through the items within this area. First, starting on the far right with your electronic siren and PA speaker system. Moving just to the left, you'll find the driver alley, driver scene, front scene, rear scene, officer, and officer alley. Moving just to the left of this location, you'll find these red and white stickers located throughout. They're indicating that you have spare wiring behind the panel. Please do not remove the stickers. These are for your maintenance team. Just underneath, you'll find the Firecom base unit for your wireless system. As we move to the rear portion behind the officer seat, you'll find volume control and squelch module. Let's go back to the exterior now. We'll identify a few items. First, compartments all open, and then we'll start into the ladder storage area. There is a 24-foot and a 14-foot roof ladder, in addition with a 10-foot folding ladder. We do have additional long-handled tools above the roof ladder. Let's go ahead and move now from this location up on top to the dunnage area. We'll identify a few items within the hose bed, dunnage, and then at the very front section where your crosslays are located. There are 3 hose bed dividers in the rear section of your hose bed area. Also, the traffic advisor is located at the front bulkhead area. As we move inside, you'll find top fill location for water tank and then also for foam tank B. This is the water tank fill. As we move to the foam tank B, just as a reminder, do not mix different brands or consistencies of foam for the possibility of foam failure. As we move to the dunnage area here, you'll find your booster line or red line. It is a free spool knob or tension. Also on the very top, in case of mechanical failure, you do have an additional location for reel rewind. You'll also find your master stream device located here with a wheel valve for open and close. Just as a reminder, we do have a pressure warning located on the very front section because of that master stream device. This is going to be the upper portion where you'll find your battery storage location for your electrification. This is a high voltage. Components are behind these panels. Do not open, do not drill, do not access this location unless you are a trained service provider. There's also a topside cut location. Let's move to the forward section of the cab where you'll find unit identifier 1 and then also some warning placards. This is a non-walking surface because of it being slippery and no handrails. The next set of images are going to be that of the chassis with the cab fully tilted. We'll go through those images next. Under section here, front axle area. As we move to the engine coolant recovery area, that's what this white container is on the left. As we move to the right, this is the power steering fill location and daily check. When you have engaged the cab tilt, make sure that you place the safety bar in place. Just as a reminder, when activating the cab tilt, make sure that you have equal pressure on both cylinders. Do not lower the cab onto the safety bar. Maintain equal pressure on the cab cylinders, both passenger and driver side. Your vehicle is equipped with a TAC4 independent front suspension. These are going to be your engine vehicle batteries. Just underneath that battery box is where you'll find the jumper studs on the negative and positive. You'll also find to the rear of the battery section, this is the fill location for your hydraulic reservoir. You can see the underside, and the forward upper left is also the location of that hydraulic fill area. The next set of multiple images will be that of the undercarriage and chassis area. Congratulations, Portland, Oregon, on your new Pierce Fire Apparatus Enforcer Volterra, job number 36682. Please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative if you have additional questions. Thank you and congratulations.